Hey, what's going on, everybody? Riley here again. I'm going to go over my trades from today. So, I came into the market today pretty overconfident. I had my biggest winning trade yesterday. I'm feeling like, the world is mine. And like I was basically just overconfident. Anyway, I want to start off by going over the longer time frame market context, show you guys what my plans were for this morning. So so you can see here, overall, let's see, where's the high on this? On NQ, okay, well, you can't see, okay, so the high is all the way up here on NQ, and we are very far away from it. So longer time frame, NQ was relatively weaker. ES was relatively stronger. We opened, where was it? Somewhere around this area right here. Not as far away from the all-time highs. And so basically, since we were approaching this lower trend line, which had been, respected, used as support and resistance, I was expecting a bounce here, and I actually saw a nice little setup forming. So I'll go ahead and go down, do 5 minute. So saw this nice descending wedge into demand here. At the same time on NQ, I didn't really see like as clean of a setup, but we did have this downwards trend line, kind of ascending wedge, descending wedge, I guess, if you want to mark it out as that. So overall, bullish setups today. And I had a bullish bias, but once again, when the market opened, things started going the complete opposite as they did, or as I was expecting. So I did my best to adapt. So I'll show you guys kind of how I screwed myself over this morning and the valuable lessons that I'm taking from it. I was not too happy ending this day of trading after my day yesterday, but still into the week green. Learned a lot of valuable lessons. So, I'll just come into the market next week smarter and more prepared. So go ahead and look at my first trade. I played 6 days till expiration on the first 2 trades, and then overconfidence led me to play 3 days till expiration on my third trade. I didn't have enough settled cash for another 6 days till expiration contract. And, at this point, I could say that this was a revenge trade, but it did have what I thought was a valid setup. And I learned a very good lesson from this one. It very well could have worked out. But I'll show you guys the lesson I learned. So go ahead back to the first trade. So I played puts. All 3 of these trades were puts today, after having a bullish thesis on SPY this morning. So I played puts on QQQ because NQ was relatively weaker. So longer time frame, ES was approaching a bottom. I'll just show you guys that trend line that I showed you already. ES was approaching that baseline, while ES was forming a bear flag into demand. NQ was also tightening into a descending wedge at daily demand. I was expecting a rally and break out of these patterns to the upside, but instead we were met with heavy selling. Saw that pre-market highs on NQ were the head and shoulders neckline. So pre-market highs today, where they were the same as, I can't see it on this time frame. I'll get a 1 hour. So kind of difficult to see here. Okay, so here it is. So you can see this head and shoulders on NQ here. There's shoulder, head, and shoulder kind of. But anyway, this neckline, this yellow line here, this was our pre-market highs, and we couldn't get above that level. So that was like the one bearish confirmation that I had, kind of pre-market action. Just wanted to show you guys that. Sorry, this is all over the place. Really just want to get all my thoughts out on the table so that these are valuable for me in the future. But getting into the trade, why did I enter? After having heavy selling pressure off the open, I looked for an entry on puts. My first mistake here is that we were inside daily demand on NQ and 4-hour demand on ES. So I was looking for a bearish entry inside demand. We all know that can work, but you need a very high quality setup and you need it to work in your favor immediately. You need scalper mentality, which I just didn't have today after my big win yesterday, unfortunately. But we also initially sliced below the lower trend line that I was talking about earlier, that divergent flag. I don't know what it's called. But then we hesitated at this level. Any hesitation here shows that buyers are still present and attempting to hold price up. Let me see if I can do half and half. So we came down here. This is that lower trend line. We sold off, but then we were hesitating here. We closed below, retested, and closed below again. So that looked really good. But then all of a sudden we got these buyers, pushed us back up, closed above. This spacing candle here. Sorry, it's probably very small. This spacing candle here closed above, and then we had this rally here. So this looked like a R rally, base rally. At that key level, it showed like that buyers were still present there. There was just a lot of chop today. This is not what you want to see when you're scalping. You want to see nice, clean action like this, fueled by retail chasing the move. So you want to look for a lot of key levels that a lot of people have their eyes on, to try to predict where those very intense moves are going to happen. So let me see. So we opened up. We opened up right here, kind of rallied up, tested yesterday's low of day. Up here, we formed a lower high. This is pre-market here. Formed this high. I set it as resistance here, and then we kind of sold off from there, put in a lower high, and at the same time, I believe this was a higher high. Yeah, this is a higher high on NQ. But then we started selling off, right? And I was like, okay, so we're not going to break out of this upper trend line. This is not looking bullish, so I'm going to go ahead and look for a bearish entry. Well, there's my first mistake, because we've got really, I don't like to short unless we're below pre-market lows. For some reason, that just seems to fuel the move. If we were able to push below this here, I bet we would have had a nice clean move all the way down to this daily demand here, if not down to here. So there was good range on this, but we were inside stacked demand, had all these key levels, and over here it was pretty much the same deal. But we had bounced at these levels multiple times before. I needed to see quick confirmation. Really just, I don't know what I was thinking today, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'll go ahead and mark my trade. So 936 to 941. Okay. So my entry was on this candle here. We dipped into demand and had heavy selling pressure. We closed below this prior all-time high key level, very key level here on the higher time frame, weekly, daily, all those higher time frames. So I entered right here, And this might be a longer video today. Sorry about that. I learned a lot from these mistakes, so I kind of want to, share all of that with you guys and myself. So entered here, at this point, this trend line, excuse me, let me zoom out so I can show you guys. It's kind of difficult. I know I have a lot of lines. That's just how I trade. So that is this trend line here. So the lower trend line of this higher time frame, divergent pattern. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but anyway, below this, I would be looking for a bearish entry. So go back. So below this trend line here, I would want a bearish entry. We also had this ascending wedge from pre-market, or sorry, this bear flag, upper trend line, lower trend line. We broke below that, came sliced through this demand or sliced into it. And this was the candle that I entered on. So we closed right at this level here, and I wasn't too worried because we had just closed below these two levels. However, I should, literally right now I can tell, okay, so my first mistake, I should not be playing puts on the relatively stronger stock. So I know I said longer time frame, NQ is relatively weaker. We're a lot further than all-time highs, but I'm trading on the 1 minute time frame right now, and look, we just made, so I mean, not a really clean trend line, but let's just say that's a high, this is a high, so we made a higher high on NQ, and then over here we made a lower high. So now this stock is relatively weaker. I should have been looking to play puts over here, and with that being the case, I could have taken the trade right up here at the failed to stay above this high up here, and we rejected off of supply as well. I don't use these for entries and exits, just to judge market participation. So I use this rejection of this 15-minute supply just as an additional confirmation that sellers are present. And this could have ended up being a very nice trade, maybe down to this trend line, if we hesitated there, which we did. But I was playing the relatively stronger stock, and that bit me in the ass, and I realized that at the end of the day. And also, there was just a lot of chop today. Volume seemed pretty low this morning, ended up pretty nice because we had a big move later in the day. But so I entered here, and we based out, came back up, retested, closed below. So I was cool with that. Closed below the trend line over here, came back up, retested. Not really heavy selling pressure. This is another thing. Volume is decreasing at this level. Why is it decreasing while we're basing? We want to see sellers step in, take us lower, especially inside demand. We don't want to mess around. So I really should have taken off or sold right here, or as soon as I saw green here. We just really didn't come down and test pre-market lows like I wanted to, and we were chopping around here. But this should have been my sign to sell into strength, so I could have made a few cents on the contracts here. I also didn't have a valid stop loss on this trade. So I entered and I said, oh shit, what's my stop loss going to be? So I just ended up putting the stop right here. And there's literally no logic to it, and I was immediately panicked. So I was at a disadvantage in my first trade because I didn't have a valid stop loss, which in hindsight should have been a close above this key level. It's confluent with the break below this this wedge here. Oh, actually, sorry about that. That was not there. But it's confluent with a break below this downwards trend line. And it would have invalidated not entirely invalidated it, but it would have shown that buyers were willing to push us above that level, which is not what I wanted. As a scalper, I want to see us come up, retest, reject, literally just like this. This is beautiful action here. This is not. Another thing I was looking at was, though we had this downwards trend line, that's not like coming back below that isn't like the highest quality setup to get short. Maybe if it was an ascending wedge and we broke out to the downside and then came up and retested it. But this is a descending wedge. So coming back in here really doesn't mean all that much. It is a good confirmation to see us reject it again. But other than that, not really too high quality. But regardless, I'll just go ahead and show you guys what ended up happening. Ended up having to just panic sell, which I mean feels like shit. But so right here on this candle, after we closed below, we rallied back up, closed above, and we formed a 1 minute RBR over here. So I got out for a loss right there. So yeah, first trade, already at a loss. Really messed this one up. Should have been playing, if I would have played the relatively weaker stock, I could have taken it, you know, multiple different areas, and had a valid stop loss and risk to reward. But on the other hand, where are my targets? That's another thing I was realizing today. All these entries and stops are great. Where are my targets? Especially if I'm in demand, and with this action, what am I going to hold until this key level? Am I going to, pretend like it's going to just randomly shoot down a weekly demand down here? So really just overall should not have taken these trades today. But anyway, I'm going to go on to the next one. Sorry, I know this is taking a long time. It's already at 16 minutes. You know what? I'm going to skip the second one and just go on to the third one because I think I found, a pretty valuable lesson here. It's basically just that I should not be trading the relatively. I played puts on the relatively stronger stock. So you can see here, right? Here, let's see, just make sure these are lined up. Yep. So here we created a lower high, and on NQ we made a higher high. Now, higher time frame, like I said, NQ is relatively weaker, but I am trading on the 1 minute time frame, so I should care about what is happening on the 1 minute time frame. So this stock is now relatively stronger. So why would I want to buy puts on the relatively stronger stock? I didn't realize that at the time. So, after I got stopped out here, my second trade, real quick, I literally re-entered as soon as we broke back down below this downwards trend line. Not very high quality. And I should have sold right here. Don't ask me why I didn't sell down here. I don't know. This is a double bottom, strong rejection. I should have gotten out for a small profit there. Didn't. Ended up letting it reverse and come all the way up to invalidate this lower high up here. So this was my stop loss. Oh, sorry about that. But for scalping, that was just the stupidest thing you could do. I should have had my stop at a close above this trend line where I entered, because we put in a lower high, and I was expecting us to just plow through pre-market lows. If we could do the same over here, come through yesterday's low of day. But we were bouncing on both. So I have no idea why I held this, especially with all that buying volume. Look at that. Heightened volume, all buying pressure, long lower wick. Horrible trade on my end. Journaled it, understand it. But this third trade, I really took a good lesson from. So I saw us rally back up, reject this 2-hour fresh supply. Over here, we didn't really reject anything. We were just kind of following. I guess we rejected this supply up here, kind of, not really. The prior high, I don't know. But it was really just following NQ, the relatively stronger stock. So I saw us sell off super heavy, strong reaction, and kind of put in this pullback, lower high. We started curling back, and I saw this nice little ascending wedge forming, and I bought in as soon as we broke below. Once again, should not have been doing this. This was a bit of a revenge trade on my part. Really disappointed with my trading today. especially because we're still in demand and we're still balanced for the day. Like we need to come out of this range. We're just kind of chopping. I want to see us at least break above or below demand. But anyway, entered right there at that break. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And let me see. Hello. Oh. Okay. Sorry, this is taking me forever. So I entered at this break. Might have entered a little bit lower. No, I entered as soon as we broke. And so you can tell already, we had. I really don't hesitate on patterns like this anymore if I'm confident in the context, which I shouldn't have been, but I was at the time. Because if you don't react quick, you're going to miss out on the move. That's just the way it is. So anyway, we broke below. We didn't close below VWAP, but we did close below the trend line. So I was confident enough to hold my contract. Came back up, retested, reject. That looked pretty nice, but we still closed above VWAP. Over here, we came up, we rejected this is the lower trend line of that bear flag. So that's a nice sign that we are rallying up and buyers don't even have enough. They're not putting in enough effort for us to even retest that. We're just dumping. It kind of shows how weak ES was. So I should have been playing puts over there. But anyway, we broke below VWAP. And there were just buyers kind of holding us up here. None of this really looked like follow through. Like you should expect, especially after this move, we're basing here, you want to see bop, like a base, and then a big drop. Just was not working in my favor. And then this one candle pissed me off pretty bad and stopped me out. So I stopped out right here as soon as we crossed this. Oops. And then I was down about $100 on the day and was just done trading out of settled funds. But so you can see over here on NQ, this did not do a single thing that I wanted it to, other than closing below this trend line. So I wanted to see this close below the trend line, close below VWAP. Then I wanted to see this candle come back up, retest, close below that trend line, and even better, close below VWAP. And then the third candle just take us down. And my target on this one was this demand zone down here. Just intraday, we didn't have any follow through, so I expected us to just use intraday zones. Anyway, over here, on the other hand, we and this trend line here as well is like the longer time frame diverging pattern trend line. So we came down literally on the same candle I entered. We closed below that lower trend line. We came back up, rejected, closed below, and then on the third candle we came down and closed below this key level. So this had like all my bear confirmations that I would have wanted, while this one was iffy and it was the relatively stronger stock. So if I had been in this one, same exact trade, though it didn't have the confirmation of supply, I could have set my stop there, and you can see that it didn't quite did not quite hit the weekly demand below, but selling to strength maybe on this candle, I could have made some profits. So just very important for me to realize that relative strength and weakness is not only on higher time frames. I need to look at it on the time frame that I'm trading on, and I need to stop being so comfortable just trading inside of demand, like puts in demand and calls in supply. Whenever I'm doing those riskier setups, I need to be very reactive. Obviously, take profits quick. Yesterday, my trade worked out, but that was because there really was no supplier demand. I broke out of an area and was in no man's land, and that's why I was able to let it run. Here we're on stacked key levels, stacked demand, um, and really just chopping around. So, like I said, not very happy with my trading today. This was this was a big red day for me. Still green on the week, which is what's most important to me. None of these losers were too crazy. 2.3%, 7.2%, and then the last one, 3 days till expiration, was 10%. So I'm not too unhappy with this, but I am happy that I learned all these lessons. So let me know. Excuse me. Let me know what you guys think. If you have anything to add, if you see anything that I'm not seeing, just let me know. And thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a good weekend.